To configure Sage CRM for outbound email, if you have a 365 account, this is ultimately the screen we're going to need to change and update with our credentials. We're going to need to create an email specific to this task. That email has to have full admin rights, but then we're going to need to make a bunch of changes within Exchange so that any user in Sage CRM can pass emails out using this email address. I've brought up the screen where I manage that newly created email address, and what I wanted to call your attention to is this guy. Now, your screen might look different, but the key thing here is that the email address you create is going to be specific to Sage CRM, and it has to have administrator permissions, the highest level permissions that you can assign. So we've got to be logged into Exchange using that newly created email address that has administrative rights. And the first thing we need to do is go create a role, add role. We can call this, I've already got it, so I'll just call this Sage CRM. Next, we have to assign a permission. The only permission we care about for this exercise is application impersonation. Next, and this is where we go find that newly created email address, the administrator we created, to apply him to this role. And then we would say add role group. The second thing we need to do in Exchange is to go to every individual person's email. So if you've got a lot of Sage CRM users, it's kind of a hassle, but you've got to do it. You've got to go into every user, and you've got to go to the delegation tab, and in send as, you have to add that Sage CRM outbound email address that you've created. The third thing that we need to do from the Exchange Admin Center is to go into Mailflow, Connectors, and we have to add a connector. On this screen, select your organization's email server. Next, you can give it whatever name you want. This third page here is the key point. You want to type in your CRM system's name. So CRM, it's usually CRM at whatever your domain is, your domain.com, but that's what it should look like. Don't include the HTTP : any of that. Just make it look, just substitute out whatever your domain is. If you don't know this, ask us and we'll let you know. Next, and then you would say create connector. After we've finished making our changes in Exchange, we can come back to Sage CRM and edit this screen. So the values we need to change: send using internal SMTP, change this to the 365 URL, that's very standard, as is port 587. Under here, this would be the newly created email address and the password. You will also tick off use TLS for SMTP. The very last thing you'll need to do is test that this is all working. So I've gone to an email address in Sage CRM, and if I click on the email address and I send this out, it's either gonna give me an error message or it's gonna work. Send. Sometimes it takes a moment, sometimes it's pretty quick, but if it didn't give you a failure message, you're in good shape and you can let us know.